Evam satata yuktaye bhaktastvam pariyupasate yachapyaksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittamaha. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect, those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? So Krishna, he has now explained about the personal, the impersonal, and the universal, and has described all kinds of devotees and yogis. So we're referring to the previous chapter, and the previous before that, and the previous before that. So Arjuna's question is related to what has been talked about before. So it's called Anuprashna. He's asking a question related to previous discussions. So generally, the transcendentalists can be divided into two classes. One is the impersonalist, and the other is the personalist. The personalist devotee engages himself with all energy in the service of the Supreme Lord, and the impersonalist also engages himself not directly in the service of Krishna, but in meditation on the impersonal Brahman and manifested. Yes. So next verse. Krishna speaking. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Maya Veshamano Yamam Nitya Yukta Upasate Shradaya Pariupetas Time Yukta Tamamataha. Supreme Personality of Godhead said, those who fix their minds on my personal form are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith, are considered by me to be most perfect. So he's just saying the one class of the personalist, they're actually worshipping him. And he will clarify later also that there is no other gods. Actually, it's simply directly Krishna they worship. Yeah. So next text. Now Krishna is going to explain those who worship the impersonal, including those who do bhakti. You can say as a preparation to later come to the impersonal worship. Yetvaksharam nirdeshyam avyaktam paryupasate sarvatargama chintyam cha kutastamachalam dhruvam saniyamendriya gramam sarvatra samabuddhaya viprapnuvanti mameva sarvabhutaite rata. Those who truly worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed, and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, the controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons engaged in the welfare of all at last achieve me. Prabhupada says, those who do not directly worship the Supreme Godhead, Krishna, but who attempt to achieve the same goal by an indirect process, also ultimately achieve the same goal, Shri Krishna. After many births, the man of wisdom seeks refuge in me, knowing that Vasudeva is all. Yeah. And then Krishna says, Kleshodikataraste-sham avyakta sakta chetasam yaktihigatir dukkam yavad viravapyate. Those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. Who are those who are the embodied, and that's everybody. So why is it difficult? Well, one thing is that it is yeah. Point there is that the Lord is you can say is not described in the impersonal aspect. So difficult to meditate on something that's yeah, it's called like objectifiable. Yeah, I can write here what is it difficult. So one is that one the unmanifested is unobjectifiable. So in that way, not easy to meditate on. And two, yeah, to do this kind of upasana or practice requires a lot of qualifications, such as one has to be discriminative, intelligence. I mean, let's just say, strong intelligence. Yeah, strong intelligence means that one can, choose properly. One has to be renounced, mode. Uh, you know, one should aspire for liberation. Aspiration for liberation. And one should have, all these personal qualities. Yeah, general, good personal sattvic qualities. Yeah, goodness qualities. Yeah. Yeah. So that means, for example, to be humble, be forgiving, be non-violent, to be austere, be very sense-controlled, so on. So that's why it's difficult. Okay, so Prabhupada says in the purport, the group of transcendentalists who follow the path of the inconceivable and manifested impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord are called Jnana Yogis, and persons who are fully in Krishna consciousness, who are in full Krishna consciousness, engaged in devotional service of the Lord are called Bhakti Yogis. Yeah. Now here the difference between Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga is definitely expressed. The process of Jnana Yoga, although ultimately bringing one to the same goal, is very troublesome, whereas the path of Bhakti Yoga, the process of being in direct service to the Supreme Personality, is easier and is natural for the embodied soul. Yes. Yeah. So then Prabhupada goes on to say something very interesting here. He says the individual soul is embodied since time immemorial. It is very difficult for him to simply theoretically understand that he is not the body. Therefore, the Bhakti Yoga accepts the deity of Krishna as worshipable because there is some bodily conception fixed in the mind which can thus be applied. So this is called the Rishike and Arishike. We're serving Krishna with our body senses in Bhakti Yoga. That's the thing about Bhakti Yoga. So the Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam, Bhakti, Uchate. That is called Bhakti. Using our senses to serve the Lord of the senses. You know, that is Bhakti. Yeah. So, of course, worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His form within the temple is not idol worship. There's evidence in the Vedic literature um, that worship may be saguna or nirguna of the Supreme possessing or not possessing attributes. Worship of the deity in the temple is saguna worship, where the Lord is presented by material qualities. But the form of the Lord, though represented by material qualities such as stone, wood, or oil paint, is not actually material. This is the absolute nature of the Supreme Lord. Yeah. So then you have the example there of you can find some mailboxes in the street. If you put your letter in those boxes, they will naturally go to the destination without difficulty. But any old box or an imitation which you may find somewhere, which is not authorized by the post office, will not do the work. Similarly, God has an authorized representation in deed form, which is called Archa Vigra. This Archa Vigra is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. God will accept service through that form. So this is very, very important. Yeah, He will accept service through that form. So now, do we believe that? If we believe that, then we can do our spiritual life in a very simple way. Otherwise, it will be, quite challenging and difficult. Okay, so next, Yetu Sarvani Karmani Maya Sanyasya Makkaraha Nanyanave Ogna Mamdiyayantu Pasite Visham Ham Samurdartha Mrityu Samsara Sagarat Vamanachirat Partha Maya Veshta Chetasam. Those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service and always meditating upon me, uh, having fixed their minds upon me, also on the Brita, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Yeah. So, yes, now Krishna is giving, you say, a staircase. He's giving the best. He's giving the top first, just to be completely devoted. And then he says later that if you can't do this, so you can't have the high step, then you go down to the previous step, and then the previous step, and the previous step. So he, in other words, he gives us some alternatives according to our capacity. Yeah. So, if you go there, he will see now different steps. Text 8. Mayeva manadatsva maya buddhim niveshaya nivasishya sumayeva ata urdvam samshaya. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Engage all your intelligence in me. This will live in me always without a doubt. Yeah. One who is engaged in Lord Krishna's devotional service lives in a direct relationship with the Supreme Lord, so there is no doubt that his position is transcendental from the very beginning. So it's probably only Prabhupada who has said this of all the teachers in the past. Uh, this is a full assurance that one is safe on the path of bhakti. However, one needs to continue practicing all the time in order to raise one's awareness of the Lord's presence. That's called the path of going from ignorance to knowledge. Yeah. So by chanting Hare Krishna, by taking Krishna Prasad, it will happen. So this is the highest platform, to have this very strong faith, most strong faith in Krishna. That simply by practicing the easy practice of Bhakti Yoga, one can have Krishna. The Prabhupada says a devotee does not live on the material plane, he lives in Krishna. The whole name of the Lord and the Lord are non-different. Therefore, when a devotee chants Hare Krishna, Krishna and his internal potency are dancing on the tongue of the devotee. When they offers Krishna food, Krishna directly accepts these eatables, like this. So, it's incredibly simple if one can just be simple-hearted oneself, pure-hearted. Yeah. So the point there is that the Lord is making it easy for us. So that has been mentioned in another place also. Um, he says in the Gita, Anjasa, this process is actually very simple. Sorry. Yeah. Um, but if you cannot just take to the direct, easy process, then without cheating, without chitam samudatma, sorry, adha chitam samadhatum, na shakshnusi mayisiram, vyasa yoganatatu mam ichaptum dhananjaya. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulatory principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. So, just so that it's clear, to fix the mind upon Krishna without deviation, that is done on the platform of raga, of spontaneous love. So there is not the same as sitting on a on a bed of nails. It's not a harsh austerity to do that. On that level, it comes natural. If one doesn't have this natural desire for Krishna, then one can practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. Now these are now not described in detail. Prabhupada says in the purport, in this verse, two different processes of Bhakti Yoga are indicated. Indication means like hinted to. So the first applies to one who has actually developed an attachment for Krishna, Supreme Personality of God, by transcendental love. So that's Raganuga Bhakta. And the other one is for one who has not developed an attachment for the Supreme Person by transcendental love. For this second class, there are different prescribed rules and regulations one can follow to be ultimately elevated to the stage of attachment to Krishna. Okay, so let's line up these two. So you have the Raga Nuga devotee, and then you have the Sadhaka. Yeah. It follows Vaidhi, Sadhana, Bhakti. Yeah. The other one it follows Raganuga Sadhana. Yeah. So both are practicing. So Bhakti Yoga is the purification of the senses. At the present moment in material existence, the senses are always impure, being engaged in sense gratification. But by the practice of Bhakti Yoga, the senses can become purified. These senses can become purified. In a purified state, they come directly in contact with the Supreme Lord. Yeah. Yeah. So there's the easy way. And one will serve the Lord out of actual love, not as in the material world, one serves a master in order to get money. Yeah. So text 10. Now we go even one step down on the ladder. So remember the high step was the spontaneous natural love for the Lord, and then there was a regulated practice to get to that love. And now if one cannot even practice regulations, Krishna says, Vyasa piyasa martusi, mat karma paramo bhava, mat artam apikarmani kurvan siddhimo apsyasi. If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me. But by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. So that means karma yoga, by which one is working and at the same time dedicating the work to Krishna. Well, maybe it may not be conscious of the Lord while working, but one can dedicate the work to Him nevertheless. Yeah. So Prabhupada says that in that way one can still be drawn to the perfectional stage by working for the Supreme Lord. It's been described also in the 11th chapter, 55th verse. What was that? Wasn't that was the last verse of the 11th chapter? Mat karma krin, mat paramo, mat bhakta sangavarjitaha, nirvaira sarvabhuteshu, ya samam eti pandava. My dear Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contamination of fruitive activities and mental speculation, he who works for me. There, Krishna has explained of the person who works for him, who make me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me. So there's no need to change one's work. One can work in that way, attain gradual love for Krishna. So the next verse, Aitadapya saktasi kartum madhyogam ashrita sarvakarma palatyagam tathakuyat atmavam. If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act, giving up all results of your work, and try to be self-situated. So you cannot even work. Then at least give up the results of work. It means something like that one can give a donation to some good cause. Yeah. As Prabhupada says here, maybe get some trouble from family members like that if one goes directly into the association of Krishna devotees. But one can sacrifice the result of one's work to some good cause. In that way, one can gradually become more pure in heart and in knowledge in that way. Yeah. So Prabhupada says, in that respect, like in the last place there, in that respect, social service, community service, national service, sacrifice for one's country, etc., may be accepted, so that someday one may come to the stage of pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Yeah. So pious work, in other words, with the thought that one will be, become dear to the Lord by doing that, and one is indeed becoming dear to Him, as Krishna is confirming here. And then he says, Shrehi Gyanam Abhyasar, Ginat Dhyanan Vishishate, Dhyanat Karma Palatyagas, Tyagat Shantiranantaram. If you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation, and better than meditation is the renunciation of fruits of action. But by such renunciation, one can attain peace of mind. Yeah. So again, Prabhupada is reiterating, as mentioned in the previous verses, there are two kinds of devotional service, the way of regulative principles and the way of full attachment in love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And for those who are actually not able to follow the principles of Krishna consciousness, it is better to cultivate the knowledge, because by knowledge one can be able to understand his real position. Gradually, knowledge will develop to the point of meditation. By meditation, one can be able to understand the Supreme Personality of God by a gradual process. So it's a gradual process then, unless one is directly acting in spontaneous love for the Lord. Then you have text 13 and 14. Adveshta sarabhutanam maitra karuna evacha nirmamo nirahamkara samadukka sukha kshami santushta satatam yogi yatat madrida nishcha vairpitam buddhi yumat bhakta same priya. One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, so equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-control, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me. Such a devoted mind is very dear to me. So again, Krishna is making sure that we understand uh, that to be dear to Krishna is enough to just be a devotee, but then all the good qualities is part of that. In one sense, they become manifested naturally, as long as one has actually done the proper process of going through devotional discipline under the guru, because most of us we have unwanted, things called ahankaras, so they have to be cleared out, and these good qualities mentioned here are there when the bad habits are cleared out, and this is what is left, which is actually parts of the soul. So that's why Prabhupada says in the purport here, coming again to the point of pure devotional service, the Lord is describing the transcendental qualifications of a pure devotee in these two verses. So transcendental qualifications, it means that these qualifications, these qualities are there in the soul, proper actually. Okay, so next verse. Yasman udvijate loko lokan udvijate chaya harsham harshabhayodvegair muktaya sachame praya. He by whom no one is put into difficulty and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety, is very dear to me. Anapeksha shuchi daksha udasanogata vyataha sarvaramba parityagi yumat bhakta same priya. My devotee is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities, who is pure expert without cares, free from all pains, and not striving for some result, is very dear to me. Yunarishyati nadvashti na shuchati na kankshati shubha shubha parityagi bhaktimanya same priya. One who neither rejoices nor grieves, who neither laments nor desires, nor renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things, such a devotee is very dear to me. Samau shatrau cha mitra cha tatha manapamanayoho shitoshna sukha dukkeshu samasanga vivarjita tulya ninda stuti mauni Santushto yena kena chit aniketa stiramatir bhaktiman me priyo naraha. One who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who doesn't care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge and who engaged in devotional service, such a person is very dear to me. Yeah, so Prabhupada very tactically, you can say very clearly, he says, the first thing he says in the purport is, a devotee is always free from all bad association. That is really the hallmark of a devotee, that he has good association with other devotees, and he's not making deep friendships with people who are not devotees, because that will destroy his bhava or his mood of devotion. Yeah, and he's transcendental to whatever goes on, fame and infamy, all these things, because simply being so nicely situated in the transcendental situation of Krishna. Yatu dharmamritam idam yatuktam paryupasate shradadana matparama tasme taste tiva me priya. Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. Yeah. So Prabhupada says in this chapter, from verse 2 through the end, from Maya Veshamanu fixing the mind on me, through Yetu Dharmamritamidam, this religion of eternal engagement, the Supreme Lord has explained the processes of the transcendental service for approaching Him. Such processes are very dear to the Lord, and He accepts the person engaged in them. The question of who is better, one who is engaged in the path of impersonal Brahman or one who is engaged in the personal service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was raised by Arjuna, and the Lord replied to him so explicitly that there is no doubt that devotional service to the personality of Godhead is the best of all processes of spiritual realization. Yeah. So that was the 12th chapter in a nutshell. So thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.